The martial arts library was one of the most sacred and heavily guarded places in the Carter clan. Within its ancient walls lay the lifeblood of the clan's legacy, martial arts manuals collected, refined, and passed down for generations. These were not just techniques. They were the foundation that ensured the Carter clan's strength would never fade. In the world of martial cultivation, the number and quality of martial arts a clan possessed directly reflected its standing and influence. A wealthy merchant might measure worth in gold and silver, but a great clan measured it in the sharpness of its blades and the depth of its secret techniques. Ethan could not help but think back to Willowbrook Village, where he grew up. The Carter family branch there had nothing that could compare to this. In the village, martial training meant practicing a few basic moves over and over, relying on old and worn techniques that had long since lost their edge. But here, in Sunfeather City, the main family's martial arts library was a vast ocean of skill and knowledge. The library itself was divided into 3 levels, each more prestigious and restricted than the last. The first level housed countless martial arts manuals, most of them low-ranked, though a few precious middle-ranked ones were scattered among them like hidden gems. The second level, known as the Moonstone Pavilion, held the very essence of the Carter clan's martial heritage, high-ranked techniques that could shake the battlefield, and even a few legendary top-ranked arts whispered about with awe. However, only those who had reached the 4th rank of the martial path could step foot there. The third level was shrouded in mystery. No ordinary disciple had ever set eyes upon it, and even among the elders, few knew what treasures it contained. To Ethan, it might as well have been a place out of myth. For now, Ethan's goal was far humbler, but no less important. Even the first floor offered a chance to change his fate. Until now, he had no family backing, no extraordinary talent to lean on. The flaming metal fist he practiced was little more than a basic foundational art, solid, but crude, and hopelessly outclassed by even the weakest low-ranked techniques. But now, having broken through to the 2nd rank of the martial path, he finally had the right to enter the 1st level and claim a martial art for himself. This was his moment to change everything. The Carter clan truly is one of the 3 great families of Sunfeather City, Ethan murmured to himself as he stepped past the threshold. The quiet air of the library seemed to hum with the weight of countless generations of warriors. Inside, several Carter clan disciples were already moving between shelves, eyes scanning spines, hands hovering as if afraid to touch the manuals without certainty. Everyone was racing against time. The rules were strict. Each visitor had only half an hour inside. Every heartbeat mattered. Ethan clenched his fists, reminding himself of his goal. Half an hour to choose either 1 middle-ranked martial art or 2 low-ranked ones. That was all the time and choice he was granted as a branch disciple. His gaze swept across the rows upon rows of wooden shelves, each lined with neat stacks of manuals half an inch thick, their titles written in elegant calligraphy. There were thousands of them, an overwhelming ocean of possibility. Choosing just 1 or 2 felt like searching for a single shining pearl at the bottom of a vast sea. Crushing stone palm, angry dragon fist, willow leaf picking star sword, heavenly wind wish steps. Ethan read aloud softly as his fingers brushed against the bindings. Every name promised strength, but which would be his key to rising above his limitations? He took a deep breath. Time was ticking. Whoosh, whoosh. Ethan moved swiftly between the rows of shelves, his fingers brushing over the neatly stacked martial arts manuals. He quickly flipped open the first pages. He knew each manual's opening contained a concise summary of its essence. Hurricane blade. A blade technique as swift as the wind, carrying momentum like thunder, designed to overwhelm opponents with sheer speed. Requirement: 1st rank of the martial path. Difficulty: average. Martial arts level: low. Angry dragon fist. A powerful fist technique that greatly increases the strength of the cultivator's chi and blood, capable of instantly condensing that force to unleash an explosive strike, suppressing opponents with sheer dominance. Requirement: 2nd rank of the martial path. Difficulty: high. Martial arts level: peak intermediate. Heavenly wind rui steps. An elusive close combat footwork art, using unpredictable movement to dodge and counter. When mastered, The user can face several martial artists of the same level without defeat. Requirement: first rank of the martial path, but requires sharp comprehension. Martial arts level: intermediate. Iron star sand: a horizontal body tempering cultivation method that reinforces the body's defenses. At full activation, it can shrug off blows from cultivators of the same level. When pushed to its limits, the practitioner's flesh can even withstand blades. Requirement: second rank of the martial path. Difficulty: very high. Requires great determination and perseverance. Martial arts level: intermediate. Ethan's eyes shone with excitement. The manuals here truly outshine those basic techniques I've been stuck with, he murmured under his breath, a faint smile tugging at his lips. Most of his attention locked onto the intermediate level arts. Their descriptions alone made his blood stir. In just a few minutes, he had skimmed through tens of manuals, and more than once he felt the urge to grab one on the spot. But reality was harsh. At his current qualification, he could only select one intermediate manual from the Moonstone Pavilion's first floor. A pang of frustration gnawed at him. If only I could take more than one. Main family disciples could walk out with two, but as a branch family disciple, he was allowed only a single choice. Shaking his head, Ethan decided to quicken his pace. Time was short, and every heartbeat was precious. Without hesitation, he activated the strange ability of his left eye. Even without this power, Ethan's reading speed surpassed that of most people. But with his left eye's gift unleashed, the change was astonishing. His scanning speed multiplied tenfold. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. His left eye faintly glimmered as he flipped through manuals at a speed that seemed almost inhuman, each title and description burning itself into his memory. The shelves around him blurred into streaks of wood and parchment, and yet every technique he read felt crystal clear in his mind. He only needed to glance at each martial arts manual for the text and diagrams to imprint themselves perfectly in his mind. After flipping through dozens of manuals, Ethan had already committed every single one to memory, carefully weighing their strengths and weaknesses against each other. By the time he reached the 50th manual, a strange realization struck him. Something's different. Ethan's hand, which had been rapidly flipping through pages, suddenly froze mid-motion. He closed his eyes for a moment, and in the darkness of his mind, page after page of summaries unfolded in perfect clarity. Every single word, every brushstroke of the illustrations, exactly as he had seen them earlier. Ethan's heart trembled in disbelief, but that shock was quickly replaced by pure, unrestrained joy. Ever since the fusion with his left eye's mysterious power, Ethan's memory had become something beyond human. It wasn't just good memory, it was flawless. As long as he focused and activated his left eye, every detail he saw would be carved into his mind like words etched in stone. Impossible to forget. He realized, with a sudden rush of excitement, that he now possessed the legendary photographic memory, a talent whispered about in stories across the green flower continent. Many had heard of geniuses who could recall knowledge at will, but those people could usually only retain 80 to 90% of what they read in a single glance. Ethan's gift was something greater. For him, the content seen through his left eye wasn't just remembered. It was sealed into his mind for life, down to the smallest curve of a brushstroke. And with this ability, the rules of Willowbrook Village's martial arts library no longer applied to him. Officially, he was only allowed to take one intermediate-level martial arts manual out of the building. Unofficially, he could now carry dozens of them away, every stance, every technique, without moving a single book from its shelf. Quick, faster, he muttered under his breath, his eyes burning with a mix of greed and determination. He opened one of the manuals he had marked earlier and began to scan its pages with the speed of a storm. Swish, swish, swish. Every line of text, every diagram of posture and blade arc, sank into his mind instantly. A manual of tens of pages was completely memorized in less than 20 breaths. A small, victorious smile tugged at his lips. Ha ha ha! Photographic memory. This is incredible. With renewed vigor, Ethan began moving through the shelves like a shadow, pulling out manuals at a near-frantic pace. scanning and storing them faster than any ordinary person could comprehend. His speed was so unnerving that it drew the attention of the other clan disciples in the Moonstone Pavilion's first floor. One of them stopped mid-selection, staring in disbelief. Is this guy insane? Maybe it's because it's his first time in the second floor of the Moonstone Pavilion, and he's too excited. The disciples noticed Ethan's rapid and relentless flipping of manuals and were slightly shocked, shaking their heads in disbelief. Time passed quickly. 3/4 of the hour had already slipped away. Who? Ethan let out a long breath. His mind felt weary, yet his eyes still sparkled with excitement. Up until now, he had already stolen over 100 martial arts manuals from the martial arts library. All of them were intermediate-level techniques: fist arts, palm arts, sword techniques, breathing methods, light footwork, defensive body training, and more. But the constant use of his left eye had greatly drained his mental energy, and he could feel the strain setting in. Next, he strolled slowly around the first floor of the martial arts library, letting his powerful left eye scan every corner with precision. Then, suddenly, his gaze locked onto an old, moldy martial arts manual tucked away in an unassuming spot. What caught his attention wasn't its placement, but its material. It was different from any ordinary manual. He reached out and picked it up, brushing away the dust. On the cover, 3 words were written: Lightly Floating Fairy. Flipping to the first page, Ethan began to read. Lightly Floating Fairy. High-class martial arts. Allows the cultivator to be as light as a swallow, walk on snow without leaving a trace, and glide across rivers. When cultivated to a high level, the practitioner can generate force multiple times in mid-air and even achieve short bursts of flight. Requires one to be at the second rank of the martial path. Extremely difficult to master. Combined with inner strength, the power becomes even greater. When trained to perfection, no one under the 7th rank of the martial path can match the cultivator's speed. Ethan's eyes gleamed. At first, he thought it was just another advanced technique, but the phrase's second life in the air and combined with inner strength changed everything. Second life in the air alone already placed it beyond most intermediate techniques, and even many high-ranked ones. Combined with inner strength meant the skill could be used by martial artists at the 4th rank and above, unlocking even greater potential. But the most staggering claim was in its final line. When trained to perfection, no one under the 7th rank will be able to match your speed. How arrogant! Ethan muttered under his breath. Even the most legendary martial arts wouldn't dare boast like this. Ethan's eyes flashed, and without hesitation, he began to memorize the contents of Lightly Floating Fairy. He was a little surprised. Why would such a powerful martial arts manual be placed at the very bottom, as if no one cared for it? Very quickly, Ethan discovered the reason. When the book was flipped to about a quarter of the way through, the words in the later pages started to blur. The main culprit was time itself. Years of dust, dirt, and mold had stained the pages, rendering much of the text unreadable. In other words, this martial arts manual could only be trained up to the first quarter of its contents. What a pity! Ethan muttered with clear disappointment. However, he did not give up so easily. Activating his left eye to its fullest, he focused intensely on the blurred words. Slowly but surely, faint traces of the obscured text became visible. The special sight of his left eye allowed him to see more than 10 times beyond the limit of normal human vision. Even so, after reading just 1 or 2 such pages, Ethan felt an intense drain on his mind. His left eye throbbed weakly, and his mental energy was heavily depleted. As long as I bring this martial arts manual back with me, I can slowly decipher the rest over time, he thought, determination flashing in his gaze. With that, Ethan closed the manual, held it carefully under his arm, and made his way out of the Moonstone Pavilion's martial arts library. Lightly Floating Fairy? You chose this martial arts manual. The white-robed elder at the counter raised an eyebrow in surprise. Yes, Ethan said respectfully. This manual has been passed down for over 1,000 years. The elder began slowly, his tone carrying a weight of history. Its mysteries far surpass those of ordinary high-ranked martial arts manuals. However, his voice soon turned more serious. but you can only read about a quarter of it. More importantly, this technique is extremely difficult to master. Even among the most gifted of our clan, few have succeeded. And even if they did, its peak effectiveness is best suited for those below the 4th rank of the martial path. Its potential, therefore, is limited. Finally, the elder gave his warning. I advise you to choose another. Do not waste too much of your energy on it, or you may never break through the 4th rank of the martial path and become a true martial artist. Ethan bowed his head slightly in gratitude. Thank you for your advice, elder, but I have already made my decision. His voice was calm but firm, his eyes unwavering. As Ethan left, the elder shook his head and sighed to himself. Youngsters these days, always biting off more than they can chew. He did not believe that Ethan would be able to learn lightly floating fairy, even if it was an incomplete martial arts manual. So what if he succeeded? After leaving the martial arts library, Ethan returned home. Sitting on his bed, he closed his eyes, and the contents of over 100 martial arts manuals quickly appeared in his mind.